Hey there, freaking awesome people, Winny here from Mind Now, and welcome back to Inspirational Mind, where we break down channels, interview people to gain their perspective on how you can master your mind to gain self-confidence and self-esteem, especially as an introvert. But hey, don't shy away if you're an extrovert, because the world needs you. And today we have a special guest. Boom, it's Alex from LYFElyne. How you doing, bro?
Hey man, not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, bro. You're in the on the Inspirational Mind show, so it's
Yeah, dude.
yeah, exactly.
Things are looking up, man.
Yeah, exactly, man. Okay, bro. So you ready for the awesome question? My favorite
Oh, bro,
question
I'm ready.
question of the day is how to gain self-confidence and belief in yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Good that's a good question. There's a lot of answers here, and I think I've been watching a lot of the interviews that you've done on your channel before, right? And I think a easy answer, the main answer that everyone gives, we can say, is just through experience, right? So you're nervous in doing X in order to be not nervous in doing X and to believe in yourself, have that real sort of extroverted kind of self-confidence that you always talk about, I think is just to gain experience in what you're trying to do. Now, I would say though that the real answer, in my opinion, is does it even really matter? Um, you know, self-confidence, I feel, in a lot of ways is similar to motivation. And let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean is that in order to be successful or in order to accomplish a certain task or a goal that you're trying to do, right, you don't necessarily have to be motivated. There's plenty of times, I'm sure you've experienced this as well, I know you're going back to school, is you're not necessarily motivated to study or you're not motivated to do this certain test or whatever, yet you still get it done simply because that's required, right? So I tend to think that, is it really that important? Sure, it helps. Don't get me wrong, it definitely makes things a lot easier. But I would say, do you really actually need to have self-confidence? Do you need to really have that belief in yourself in order to go forward and take action and do whatever you're trying to do? It's kind of a weird answer. Do you see where I'm going with this?
It's weird, bro, because we all have our own perspective, So
Yeah.
that is how you see it, and I appreciate your answer. Nothing is ever weird, man. Come on, bro. It's unique,
Hey.
So you're
Yeah, sure.
basically saying you don't need the self-confidence to kind of like take that action. Like whatever you want to do, you gotta just take the leap and do it, and just gain self-confidence in that way. Or am I misunderstanding something here?
Yeah. No, you totally get it. It's kind of ascribing to the sort of a stoic mindset where you wake up, do you feel, because some days you'll feel more confident than other days, but regardless of how you feel, right, you still have things that you need to get done. At least that's the way I see it. So it's sort of just taking it with that sort of just stoic mindset of going, okay, however I feel is more or less irrelevant. It's forging forward regardless of what's going on inside, mentally or in here.
Yeah, no, I
So,
totally get it, man. Do you think that you're a confident person?
mm, it ranges. I think it goes from day to day. I would say um, more so than being a confident person, I'm just a very capricious person. One day I'll wake up and I'll go, yeah, let's go do it. And the other days I'll wake up and I go, you know, I can't. I sort of have that ebb and flow. Um,
Well, what do you
so,
do? Sorry, go ahead.
oh no. Yeah, go ahead.
So what do you do on days when you feel low and you have to do the things that you plan to do? How do you get out
Right.
of that unmotivated state?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't necessarily try to get out of the unmotivated state, right? There's the idea of just accepting the unmotivatedness and still forging ahead regardless of that feeling, right? I think if you're always tracking yourself, or if you're always taking account of whether or not you feel motivated or unmotivated, that's just sort of using up some brain power that you could be using on accomplishing what you need to accomplish, right? And so on the days that I feel unmotivated, I just kind of wake up and I go, fuck, man, this blows. Uh, maybe I may lay in bed, or I may hit snooze for an extra time than I normally would. But eventually, I just know I have, the things that I have to do, and I just slowly get it done. I just work piece by piece, little by little, regardless of motivation, and just try to chip away at it as much as I can.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it sounds cool, man. I mean, like everyone has their good and bad days, you know. You cannot always like feel motivated the entire time, but like you said, you gotta accept it and kind of like move on and just do it in spite of feeling like that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Right. That's what I think. I mean, what is that? You know, do you do that yourself, or do you have a specific ritual that you do when you're unmotivated?
Um, I guess it is like how you said it, like kind of accepting it and then see how you can, or how I can improve it maybe the next time when it comes up. Like now I, journal the stuff that I feel. And so you have to kind of analyze what do you do, what did you do on, the day before, what did you eat and all of that. So you got to be like really analytical, and that is like how you get answers and solution to that. So like Gary Vee always says, you got to be self-aware, right? You got to know who you are. And so yeah, I think journaling really helped me in a way. So yeah, that is what I do, being really
Yeah.
analytical.
Yeah, totally. I get that, and I think you hit on an important point. There is not just being self-aware, but quantifying your self-awareness, right? With the journaling, taking data, charting all your things, and then because that's all life is just a mass amount of data all interacting with each other, right? And so it's just taking that data and then moving forward with it in the best way, regardless of if you feel good or if you feel like doing it. You know, in my opinion, that's more or less irrelevant. It's sort of easier said than done, right? We all have those days when I think we wake up and we say, "Oh, I'm unmotivated. Oh, I'm not confident. I don't believe in myself." We get stuck in this cyclical thought pattern of trying to get out of that. Whereas if we took that same amount of mental energy and just accepted how we are, how we're feeling, and just put that towards actually accomplishing the things we're trying to accomplish, I think that it naturally sort of you'll work yourself out of it a bit.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
bro. Definitely. Like I've already said, and you said, we gotta just be analytical. Like taking the data, from everyday life, like from morning to evening, and then seeing like how it affects us, how our mood is, and everything. And eventually, life is just awesome because you never know what's going to happen next, and you just gotta enjoy the process, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So because we
Yeah.
get better every day anyway. Of course we gotta choose to get better, but it's, there's always ups and downs, and so we have a choice to perceive it as like kind of an experience, learning pattern, or saying, oh, why, what the hell, and also like, what I really love, and I've already said this in a couple of interviews, what Tony Robbins says, it depends on the questions that you ask to yourself, and that is the answer that you're gonna get. Like, how can I make this better, instead of asking yourself, why is this happening to me? Why am I demotivated? So if you're like demotivated, then say, how can I, become motivated, or how can I make this better, or stuff like that, because the brain like seeks out for for answers that you ask. So if you have like positive questions, you'll come up with positive answers. Anyway, what I also like really associate with confidence is the energy that you have. And so a lot of people say you gotta prioritize on morning routines. I mean, do you have morning routines or evening routines?
No, that's a good question. I actually very much dislike morning routines. Um, and I'll tell you why. I think a morning routine is, don't get me wrong, I think they're good. They can be helpful for some people. For me personally, and a lot of other people I've talked to, they actually, I think they hurt more than they help. Um, and the reason being is that if you have a strong morning routine that you're trying to accomplish every single day, it introduces a lack of flexibility, right? And once you start to get rid of that flexibility in your life, you start to introduce more opportunities for disappointment and failure. For example, let's say you have your morning routine to meditate 15 minutes every single morning, right? And that's what you're doing. You're hammering it down. After you finish your morning routine of meditation, you feel great, you're ready to conquer the day. On that same end of the opposite end of the spectrum, though, if you don't meditate, you feel a bit down. You're like, damn, I didn't accomplish my morning routine, right? So let's say, a family member, your sister's coming in town, and she needs you to pick her up from the airport first thing in the morning, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. You don't have time to meditate. Boom. You go straight to the airport, you pick her up, maybe you guys go get some breakfast, then you do something else, bring her home, then you get home, all of a sudden you got to go to work, right? And you missed out on your morning routine. All of a sudden you're feeling like you've missed out on something a bit, and you feel a bit of that lack because you don't have that flexibility. So instead of morning routine, meditate for 15 minutes in the morning. What I would say is a daily routine. Meditate 15 minutes every day. Doesn't matter when you get it in, just that you do get it in, right? So that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I dislike morning routines. They don't have a lot of flexibility for your life, and it's very high stakes. Either you accomplish it, you feel great, or you don't, and sort of your whole day is ruined by 8 a.m. before your day is even started, right?
Yeah.
So
No, I get you there on that point. I guess the purpose of morning routines or evening routines or whatever is to kind of set your day right. To kind of like warm up your engine. Now, obviously, some people don't have morning routines, like in your case, and at the end of the day, it just depends on that individual. Whatever makes you happy, that is all what counts, right? And so morning routines is also kind of like maybe disciplining yourself. Some people see it that way. I need to do this so that that I can do it every single day, and this kind of builds up that, let's say, self-discipline muscle.
right.
But yeah, whatever.
That doesn't need to be done in the morning though, right? That self-discipline muscle, let's just do it. Let's make sure we do it every single day. Let's just not force ourselves to do it in the morning, right?
So, what energizes you? What gives you that energy? Like, okay, you don't have a morning routine. What gives you that energy throughout the day?
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's well. So I'll say, I kind of lied a bit. I guess I do have a bit of a morning routine. Right. I'll wake up. I'll make my bed. Brush your teeth, and you could consider that a morning routine, and to some extent, right? But I think a good thing sometimes what I need to do to get energized in the morning is I'll just clean. I'll do like 10 minutes, a little 10 minutes of cleaning, right? I'll wipe down the bathtub. I'll maybe do a little bit of vacuuming. Anything just to get the productivity, that efficient mindset going. You know, so that's really where I'm coming at it from, and I think that it all just depends on your personal situation, of course. But for me, the energy mostly comes from being organized and knowing exactly what I need to do each and every day. So I don't wake up and I don't make a list. Here's my to-do list. I don't wake up and I don't think, what should I do today? Because I already know it. Because I have built a specific system for myself to already know exactly what I'm going to do every single day.
Okay. What is this system?
So it's sort of a three-tier system, right? So the most highest level of it is journaling, similar to what you do, where I'll journal long-term goals, right? 5, 10 years, 3 years. So you automatically know those big long-term goals. In addition to that, I use a combination of habit tracking and reminder apps. So every single day that I think of something that I need to do, or I think of something that I will need to do, such as I know already on my calendar it says record videos next Wednesday through the weekend. I'll write that down in my reminder app. I'll set it to go off at 8 a.m. of that day. So every day when I wake up, I have, 3 to 20 reminders automatically populate on my phone with the task that I need to do, right? And they all come up at 8 a.m. It's just a simple checklist, so I can go through it, swipe them done. I just look at my phone and go, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. And then, of course, you have the daily habits that you need to do, such as reading, not doing specific things, working out, these sort of things. So it's sort of a combination of calendar and reminders that just automatically create sort of a to-do list for you at the start of each day. Does that make sense? I may not be explaining it well.
I understand you completely, bro. So yeah, that is a good system. You're utilizing the reminder, and it is kind of like a to-do list, kind of, right? Yeah. So that is good. So do you set deadlines as well?
Yep. Well, exactly. So, for example, I have so one of the reminders that came up this morning is I'm working on a new spreadsheet, right? A custom habit tracking spreadsheet. And so that reminder's been coming up Friday, it'll come up today and tomorrow. And that says finish creating this custom habit tracking spreadsheet by Sunday, by the end of the weekend. And that's it. And that's all it just comes up and I go, okay, I know what I need to do now, you know? So I'm never lost in, I mean, that's a bit hyperbolic, but I'm usually not lost in ambiguity or indecisiveness, you know?
Yeah. So what if like on that day you're not doing it, like you can't do it on Friday, then you do it on Saturday, or how do you go about that, or do you have to do it like when it pops up on your phone and it says, yeah, do this by Sunday, on let's say Thursday or Friday, do you have to do it on that day? Do you whatever distractions come up, or you say like, nope, I gotta do this, or do you actually set kind of how do you say, like you give yourself some time to accomplish that until Sunday, or do you say like on Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you have to do these things? Am I making myself clear here?
Yeah, I think you are. I think you are. And what I'll say is I've been doing it long enough. I've been trying out different organizational methods and different productivity methods, different journaling, tracking, all these things. I've been doing this long enough that I found that, yeah, you need to be able to account for some, excuse me, for some ambiguity, for some unknown scenarios, right? So generally, there's sort of a timeline. It's not always you have to do this specific thing this day, but maybe there's a window, maybe a 2-day period, maybe a 3-day period where you say it doesn't matter when, but again, just within this period, you get it done. Just goes back to a similar thing to the morning routine, just in a in a bigger, more expanded way. Instead of meditating for 15 minutes in the morning, I prefer to say meditate for 15 minutes anytime throughout the day. And that's sort of a similar way that I accomplish tasks. Complete this habit tracking spreadsheet by the weekend. Doesn't matter what day or in what hour or what time slot you do it, just as long as you get it done on this weekend. And that way, giving a little brief window, some cushion room, you can account for these unexpected things that are going to happen most of the time, you know.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, that's a good system. Also, doesn't put yourself too much under pressure, right? Yeah, so that's really good, man. Yeah, do you actually do visualization?
Yeah, you know, not really. Like visualizations, not necessarily, but I'll say whatever. Like I always just have my main goals, my main tasks, always just rooted in the back of my consciousness, and so it's always sort of kind of buzzing going around there, right? Um, Napoleon Hill might call it some definiteness of purpose, right? It's always just in the back of your mind. You always are moving towards what you want to do. But do I ever sit down and really visualize and try to will myself to it? Not so much. That's maybe something where maybe I should, but to be honest, just not really. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, there's no should or anything. Like anything that works for you, brother. I'm just curious, man.
What do you is that a big thing for you?
I've never really done it until just recently, just because I want to try it out and give it a go, and just to, because at the end of the day, it's all about the mind, and so if you can really like warm up your mind to like kind of influence you to think that you're already in that state, will also motivate you to do the stuff that that you should do. Also, it's kind of a kind of how do you say it? Facilitator? Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. I think it's really important to have goals. And how do you actually set your goals, man?
Of course. Well, in terms of what? Like let's use an example. What's a good example here?
Do like a weekly, monthly, yearly goal, or how do you go about it?
Oh yeah. Certainly. There's right. So if you're talking about a big task that you want to accomplish, yeah, you'll break it down. I'll break it down by weekly basis, a month basis, maybe 3 months, right? And then year, 2 years, 5 years, something like that. But I think that's so let's take reading, for example, right? Let's say you want to read more. You want to read more books. That's a good goal. It's a goal I think everyone should have, but that's sort of vague. So one way that I would break that down is say, okay, first of all, you want to say, how many books do I want to read? Okay, let's say 50 is a good number. I think that's very accomplishable. So you say, okay, let's read 50 books a year. Let's read 50 books this year. That's about 1.5-ish or books. Wait, how many is that per month? That's 4. Yeah, 4 books per month. But then again, that's still also kind of vague. So then we'd break it down even more by a weekly basis. Okay, that's how many books per week, blah, 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 blah. But the best way to get most specific about that, I would say, is by pages. So you break it down, how many pages is that per year do you want to read? And then you'll say, okay, let's break that down by day. How many pages is that per day? It turns out that reading 50 books in a year is about, on average, around 30 to 40 pages per day. So then that's how I'll break it down, is to the most smallest timeline, the smallest period, whether that's by day or by hour, and then just track that. and then work that up and build that up from there.
Do you track your goals weekly, monthly? How do you go about that?
Daily, daily. I think you gotta track it daily. Yeah, just like how you track, you know, any sort of habit, right? Take a cold shower every day or something. You track that daily, so you know if you want to, so you know if you're doing that every single day. So with big goals and long-term goals like our YouTubes and where we want to be by then, I think you need to track that daily as well. Or reading, for example. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I always break it down to the smallest point, and then track that every single day. And that's really easy. That's really easy to do. You just, a simple spreadsheet will do, or a nice habit tracking app. There's a lot of tools out there designed for that.
Yeah, makes sense, man. Makes sense. So, we've already briefly talked about habits and all of that. And I think habits are like one of the things that really kind of gives you the success in life, you can say. If you have like good habits, you don't really have to think of what you do, right? So do you have bad habits right now?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think everyone does. I would like not to, but I think everyone definitely does.
How do you turn these bad habits to good habits? How do you go about that?
Well, you know, it's uh this is nothing new here, but I think it's just replacing the bad habit with something good. Like for example, ooh, this is really good. I was really proud of myself for this actually. So I always eat one of the bad habits I'm trying to do is get rid of is eating so many sweets, right? Oh man, I have a sweet tooth. I love Oreos, Skittles, M&Ms, whatever we're talking about here. And so the first way I went about doing that is to say, okay, let's just not buy sweets anymore. You know, let's wean ourselves off. I live with roommates, and maybe they'll buy something. One of my roommates just bought Oreos the other day, and I'll eat them. It's fine. I'll have an Oreo. I'm not going to stop myself completely. So let's start by just not buying it. Let's not put ourselves in that situation for that bad habit to occur. And then let's actively work in turning, like you said, that bad habit into something good. So instead of buying sweets, I changed my habit to just don't buy sweets to now buy fruit in place of those sweets. So I bought some, what are the raspberries or cherries, or I think they're raspberries, and some apples. And now, whenever I'm thinking of buying sweets, boom, I'll just go out and buy some raspberries because they're very sweet themselves and they actually taste really, really good.
Was it I can assume that it was a bit challenging, right? I mean, there are still days where it kind of pops up into your head where you're like, you know what, I really want to buy these sweets, man. They're like delicious. So what do you do on these days where like the craving is like really bad? I mean, okay, replacing it with buying fruits and all, that's awesome. But I think at the beginning it's like always hard to kind of just replace it because you're so kind of like craving for that other thing, right? So how do you go about that?
Well, man, this is gonna be. There's no secret trick. There's no that I found. There's no instant answer. The answer is boring, but the answer is persistence, right? Long-term dedication and not giving up. So another example is I had the habit of video games, right? There's one specific video game I played and I did it way too much. I don't want to do it anymore. Cut it out of my life. For, I don't know. I don't know exactly how long. I'd say about 2 years-ish. Probably around 2 years, I tried to end this habit, similar to this sweets one. And I failed 16 times. There'd be different streaks where I would say I wouldn't do it for like a week, and then maybe a month, and then maybe 3 months, and then I'd fall back in, and then I'd get some streaks. But at the end of the day, I failed 16 times before I finally got a hold of it, right? So it's just that unrelenting persistence, that unrelenting drive that, okay, it might sound bad to say, but especially if it's a very strong bad habit, you're probably going to fail at least once, right? It's very hard just to cold turkey anything. Any smoker I've met, anyone who's done a really addictive habit like nicotine, very rarely are they able to quit forever on their first try, or alcoholism, right? So it's realizing that, okay, I'm going to fail a little bit, but I'm in it for the long haul. And regardless if I fail, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to be upset that I didn't do what I said I was going to do, but I'm going to keep going forward. And over the long term, we're going to get this handled. Even if it takes failing 16 times and 2 years later, we're going to make it happen.
No, definitely, man. I got to quote Tony Robbins here again. He says, like, stay committed to your goal. Like, in this case, it would be getting good habits, right? Getting rid of the bad habits, right? That's the goal. But stay flexible in your approach. And like you say, it's like it's going to be hard, and maybe replacing it might not be your solution. But you gotta stay flexible in your approach. So you gotta find ways. Maybe you get good friends who will tell you don't do it. Maybe that would be one approach, right? Replacing it would be the second approach, or whatever. Just stay flexible in your approach, and eventually being persistent with all of that, it will then work. And I recently interviewed your favorite life coach, Baman, and he said you gotta leverage because I asked him also these things, and he said you gotta leverage something that is unique to your personality, what works for you. And it kind of like really resonate with me, because because I said I'm going to quit alcohol for 1 year, and what made me do that is because I leverage the love. Like, there's nothing bigger for me than love, and that was the thing that kind of like triggered me to do it, right? It kind of like also resembles to your big why are you doing it, right? And so that kind of like really resonated with me. And the book, I don't know if you've read it, Atomic Habits. It talks about like the identity, right? So if you, for example, if you are a smoker and you think constantly that you're a smoker, it will be much more difficult than saying to yourself that you're not a smoker. Of course, it will still be challenging, don't worry. It will be hard. But you gotta do like in small steps, right? So if you say like you smoke 1 pack a day, then let's say, okay, I'm going to reduce it to 29. How many cigarettes are there in 1 pack? I think 30, right? I can't remember. Let's say, let's say 30. So you do 29, then 28, 27, like, small steps. There's a saying in that book, which was you gotta standardize something before you optimize, or was it the other way around? You gotta optimize. No, standardize before you optimize. Right, that was the one. And that really like struck me. You cannot just like quit it at once, like cold turkey. Or some people can actually do that. I know some people who did that. But you gotta see. You gotta just see what works, right? So
yeah, totally.
Exactly. That was a long Winny talk again. Okay, man. So, dude, what have you already figured out what you wanted to do in life, or not yet? Are you still in the discovery mode?
I think it's funny. I think Sort of, kind of. I think I'm on the right path. I think I'm going towards where I think I want to go right now. But to be honest, I can't say for sure because who knows? Like, life is, despite how much people say life's too short and life is, time's passing me by, like, life is pretty damn long, you know? And so who knows, bro? Yeah. It's like, so I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years where my mindset's going to shift, but I assume it's going to be around the same thing right now. I mean, I changed my major a couple times just in college, right? And that was, only, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. So things are always changing, but I think I'm going towards, I'm much happier now. And that's kind of, a good what would you say, a good indicator. So I think I'm going towards the right path. Yeah.
Bro. No, that's amazing. That's good, bro. What advice would you actually give to someone who, who are in their 20s and they say, what is my passion? What is my purpose? What should I do in life? I'm so confused. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah. Hey, no, I actually just had a long conversation with someone about this just the other day. It's like 2 hours. And what it came down to, what we decided at the end of this conversation was that it's all just about experience. It's all about time, right? And much like the long-term approach that we're using for the rest of our habits and for getting rid of bad habits, we have to use that long-term approach in figuring out what we want to do. There's a bunch of different methods that you can use, but I think the best one is just to experience as much as you can, right? Do you want to be an artist? Do you not know? Well, spend 2 hours and try drawing something. Try doing some paintings. Follow some Bob Ross thing, What about sports? I don't know. Spend 2 hours playing a couple of different sports. What about finance? Spend 2 hours reading about finance, studying statistics and different measurements, and I think a lot of people, it's very simple and practical, but most of us, we just get so bogged down in these emotions of, I don't know what I want to do, what's going to happen. We just kind of fall into this like self-induced coma of, I don't know what's happening, when really all we have to do is spend a few hours trying different things and maybe lay out 5 things and say, okay, over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to try these 5 things. And if none of them stick, spend 2 weeks later trying 5 new things, right? So that's the approach I would take, is just gain some experience and spend some time doing a bunch of different things. I don't think that's anything new or novel advice, but it certainly seems to be the most practical. Oh, though, the very first thing I'd say to someone who doesn't know what they want to do is to read the book Mastery by Robert Greene. That is my favorite book of all time, and that whole book is literally about how to figure out what you want to do and how to be a master at any craft. And it looks at a whole bunch of historical examples. Oh, it's great. All right. Read Mastery.
Yeah, I actually want to, because there's a new book by Robert Greene that came out, that was published, I think, last year or something.
I know which one you're talking about. The Laws of Human Nature?
Exactly. That's the one that I actually want to. There we go. He has it. Damn, that's a huge ass book.
It's a big one.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that. Okay. And is it good?
No, not bad. I would definitely recommend it. It's very interesting. Talks a lot about the cognitive biases and different ways that we think and why.
Oh, I love that. I'm so like into the mind, I always ask myself like, okay, why did he or she just do that? Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. I just love that. Asking the why, kind of. But yeah, what did I want to say? I just forgot. These things happen, bro. Even the interviewer kind of.
Don't worry. I have a follow-up question for you though. Is what are you going back to school for?
International business.
International business. Very interesting. See, I would have thought you would be going back for something in like psychology or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually a very long story. Maybe I will make a video. You know what? I'm going to make a video on that. So just for you, bro, just for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very interested in psychology. I'm interested in acting. I'm interested in making videos. Oh, I love making videos. Holy cow! Just grabbing camera or phone or whatever it is, like, dude, and making a video. I just the visual, man. But enough talking about me.
We can hop on a call later on and talk about it more or something. But is that?
Also make a video on that, because like I said, yeah, mine now is just all about like telling the truth, my truth.
Love it.
Anyway, yeah, dude, like we all kind of get stuck in a rut, right? Dark times. Well, not let's not say dark times, just in a rut where things are not going our way, and we're like, oh man, maybe you failed or whatever it is, and you feel just like a complete loser. What do you do in these times? What has helped you the most?
Yeah. What has helped me the most, and this is actually very relevant to me because I go through, my mood, like I said earlier, my self-confidence and my emotions are very up and down. From day to day, I can, I'm maybe exaggerating a bit, but it's I get in a lot of ruts. And the best thing that I've found is, and it goes back to sort of that same stoic, that same just embrace it mindset, is just stay in the rut, right? Once you realize you're in a rut, embrace it, don't be mad at it, and live it. Let that rut flow through you, get it all out of your system, and then you'll be able to move yourself forward. For example, there's some days where I wake up, this maybe happened last like a month or so ago, where I woke up and I just went, damn, dude, I'm in a rut. I can't do anything. Like, there's no way. I know I can force myself, but it's, let's just get this out of our system. So I literally just laid in bed all day, was watching, I don't know, movies or Netflix or something, and sleeping for like 12 hours, right? And I just embraced the way I was feeling. I said, there's a way my body is giving me this reaction, putting me in this rut. Let's just embrace it. Let's let it flow through, and let's move on. So instead of dragging it out and trying to stay out of the rut and trying to work myself back and go, come on, you can do it, and dragging it out for days or weeks, I just fully embraced that rut for that day. Didn't do shit. Woke up the next day, bam. All of a sudden I'm feeling a lot better. So it's sort of that idea of just really taking that time for yourself and, not trying to fight it. It is what it is, and you just got to let it happen. Of course, if it gets to a certain extent, right, and it's lasting for too long, there's certain measures you can take. But I think too often, especially in the modern era, we're always trying to be motivated. We're always trying to be focused. And we never take time to just experience that rut, experience the sadness. It's an important part of life, I think. So just experience it, let it go through you, and move on.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I totally agree with you on that. It's also kind of resembles to mindfulness meditation. You're just observing the thoughts and just accepting them, not kind of like pushing them away, because a lot of people also kind of think, oh, when you do meditation you shouldn't have thoughts and etc. It's about who you are, like really embracing it, like you said, because life, there will be ups and downs. If there are only ups, it's going to be boring, right? So like you said, embrace it, take it, experience it, and you can always ask these positive questions, but don't force yourself to always be happy. If you're in a dark time or in a rut and you feel sad and disappointed, then embrace that. Like, it is what it is. But I love how you said it, like, embrace it, and the next day you kind of move on because you have embraced it so much. Maybe you're just sitting in the corner and crying out. But you get the point. And then you'll feel better. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that, man. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about mind versus the intuition. Like, especially when you make like decisions, right? The mind says like, oh, you should not do that, but your heart kind of, or your gut is telling you, no, do it. Now, I also kind of talked with Gennady from Better Every Day. He actually talked about these two things, and once he said that to me, I kind of experienced it more and more every single day, between what the heart and the mind says. And I have come to realization that the first thing that your mind kind of says is what your heart or your gut is telling you, or let's say your heart, not your gut, your heart is telling you. So for instance, you see a beautiful girl and you want to go up to her. The first thing what you're going to say is, dude, go up to her. But then the next thing is like, oh no, dude, what if the other people are going to judge you, or what if she rejects you? And like, the first thing is what your heart tells you. You got to talk to her, right? But then afterwards, that is when your mind is kind of like in the protective mode, right? And that is what I kind of came to realization. So Gennady, if you're like watching or listening to this, thank you very much. And how do you actually go about how do you go about that? Do you have like this heart versus mind kind of thing, or gut versus the mind? How do you go about that?
Yeah, the way I've very recently been dealing with the heart versus mind situation is by really trying to understand it more in depth. Again, I tell you, I'm a very analytical, I'm a very pragmatic, I'm a just let's get to it type of person. If you go to my channel, that's all you'll see, right? And so what I've been doing is researching a lot of the neuroscience behind it, and a lot of the, what is this intuition? What is this mind thing, right? And just understanding that more in detail and the actual chemistry, the actual biology behind it, has helped me to sort of gain a better understanding, a better realization of what's actually going on, and what really, it helps me figure out the best actions to take. So, for example, a great book to read is How We Decide by Jonah Lehrer, something like that. And this book is pretty much about this question. And it is that I'll give the long and short of it is that the mind, it's always looking for patterns. We're just a pattern recognition machine fueled by our dopamine neurons. And when we get this feeling of intuition, when we get this, the heart, you could say, that is really just the deepest part of our mind that has built enough dopamine neurons, built enough transmitters, and related to this specific situation that it's able to form these complex patterns. And so we see these complex patterns play out, and from there, we know instinctively what to do, right? For example, what would be a good example? Let's say you're a boxer or you're going into MMA or something. And the first time you walk in the ring, you're not going to know what to do because it's just about your mind. There's a lot of different patterns going on. There's a lot of different movements, a lot of different sways, a lot of different technique that you could be doing. But eventually, once your dopamine neurons start firing, you start building up more of that pattern recognition, it'll just become inherent. It'll become part of your intuition. And so understanding that your intuition is really just the most advanced form of your thoughts. Like, your intuition is literally just the most complex and technically advanced form of your mind that's operating, and this is on a biological level. Once you understand that, you start to trust it more. And once you really trust it more and you really believe that your intuition is actually right, then it's much easier to listen to it. Because your mind can always tell you, oh no, maybe if I'm trying to talk to this girl, no, maybe she will reject me. But then it's very easy to realize, it's much easier to actually go talk to her once you realize, no, my mind is dumb. My intuition, which is through my dopamine neurons constantly firing, constantly reacting, and forming these new connections, my intuition knows what's really going to happen. My intuition knows actually the likely result of the likely outcome of this. And that makes it very easy for you to say, discredit your mind and say, dude, that's just the dumb part of me that doesn't know what it's talking about. This intuition is really the smart part, so let's just go with it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That is really nice. What book was that?
How We Decide by Jonah Lehrer. Yeah, I can shoot you a text to it after as well. It's very good, very good, and you would love this too. Going into the neuroscience of it all and decision making, neuroscience decision making. Oh, it's so very interesting. I know you would love it as well.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. Yeah, but really, really awesome way of like, describing all of this intuition versus mind thing. Because yeah, I've never really heard it that way, and it makes sense because we are we always recognize things in patterns as well, right? Even habits. I mean, that is also kind of constructed in patterns, right? First the cue, then the action, then the reward, then craving, and all of that. So yeah, that really makes sense. Awesome. But now talking, you just talked about a book there. Now talking about mindset book. What is your favorite book concerning that, man?
Yeah, I read a lot, so there's so many great ones. I'm looking around here on my desk to see that, okay. The best 3 books concerning mindset, we talked about one, Mastery by Robert Greene. It's actually right here. Mastery by Robert Greene. And that's also about success and how to be a master of what you want to do, right? The other one right here, Success Habits by Napoleon Hill. This was just published, like a couple months ago. This one's great. And then also, one of the greatest ones I'd say is what is it? By Seneca. On the Shortness of Time by Seneca. Seneca is an old, ancient philosopher, sort of in the Aristotle era, and it's just a teeny tiny little book published by Penguin. You can get it. It's just the fact that it's transcended, the test of time, but it's great. That book talks a lot about mindset in relation to time, how you should feel, how to be a better person, how to be a better person in terms of yourself, and really allow yourself to do everything that you want to do. So I would say that one. Mastery by Robert Greene, Success Habits by Napoleon Hill, and On the Shortness of Time, Time is Long If You Know How to Use It by Seneca. That's the full title.
Awesome. Thanks, man. That is awesome. I will definitely check those books out, man. Because I haven't read any of them, actually. Yeah, no. But that's good, man. Goes into my to read list. Yeah, you can say that. All right, dude. Before we get to my last question, how can people connect with you further?
Yeah, just LYFElyne, LYFELYNE on YouTube. You know, that's pretty much where we're directing everything right now. So just like you, we're forging ahead, man. We're going forward. We've got a really nice community of sort of small, but very very intelligent self improvement, self um, help channels, right? And I really um, so yeah, no, I'm just glad to be a part of them now on your channel, and it's like I said, things are looking up now.
Of course, bro. Of course. I mean, like I said, man, helping each other and building that community is really important. So yeah, that's why I really love, connecting with all of you and gaining perspective from all of you. But before you go, bro, now comes the most important question, which is, how do you master? No, wait, that was wrong. What is that? What is that one revelation, one activity that has helped you the most in regards to mastering your mind?
The one activity, the one revelation that has helped me the most in mastering my mind. Um, I would say that's so very hard to pick, but I would say that um, it's in relation to fear, these things that hold us back. Um, and the revelation I've had is that fear, I don't think exists. I don't think it's actually there. Fear, in my opinion, isn't something that's naturally occurring, right? You have it doesn't just pop up. You don't just go suddenly, huh, I'm afraid. Really what fear is a byproduct, similar to how fire or smoke is a byproduct of combustion. We can say that fear is just the byproduct of a lack of experience and time. So if you've never spent any time doing something, you've never had any experience doing something, you're going to be afraid of it. Like seeing that pretty girl walk down the street. Have you ever had experience or time talking to this girl before? No. Then that's why fear is coming up. It's not because you're afraid. It's not because, it didn't just happen. It's just because you don't have enough experience and time doing it. So that was a big revelation for me, is that, fear isn't an actual object. We always try to get rid of fear, but it's really, fear won't exist if you just have enough experience and time doing something. So that was my biggest revelation. Practice doing the thing that you're afraid of, and paradoxically, you will naturally eliminate that fear. And once you eliminate that fear, then your mind is free to do whatever you want, to climb to the highest peak that you can ever climb. So.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I'd say that.
No, awesome, bro. I love that advice. Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. At the beginning it's always scary, but you just gotta push through it. And you can only get better from that. Even because happiness is kind of progress, right? And if you keep on doing and you build that momentum, you can only get better. Yeah. So, bro, that was an awesome advice. It was an awesome interview as well. I really appreciate you giving me the time and sharing with us your knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man.
Great. A lot of fun.
Guys, also tell me in the comment section what was your favorite advice from Alex here. Again, I will leave the link to his channel in the description, so go check him out. All right, he's a very I love his videos. They're very entertaining and very energetic. So it's definitely not boring. I'm always like watching your content. I'm like, oh my god, he's like so entertaining. This guy, so hyper active. I love it. No, but yeah, guys, like I said, my favorite advice from him was probably the last one. You know, his revelation to fear, and you know, you can only get better from everything. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoy it. For those of you listening and watching this, remember that you are freaking awesome and that you can do it if you put your mind to it. Winny out. For now.